So, do you still say good morning when your morning starts out like this? You still say good morning? I can't get out. I'm gonna get some help. If you still say good morning, then you're blessed.
Welcome to Retire Early Lifestyle. 3 good reasons why Americans have to leave America. The truth is, most people don't have to leave their country. They only have to know the ins and outs of overcoming the challenges of how to live in the country they're already in. Running from our problems does not solve our problems or provide us with skills on how to live in this world. Sometimes we have to stand up and face our problems head on so they won't continue. We can all move to a better country, but there will always be something better than where we're at, right? We tend to take the things we have for granted instead of enjoying what is in front of us every day. And we don't realize we do that until we move to a foreign country. That's what this video is about today. Real, impactful, and honest information. Are you ready? Let's begin with this information that is going to help you decide if you have to leave the USA for another country. Number 1. People feel like they have to leave the US because it is just too darn expensive. The cheap concept is a fairy tale for most people, and the reason being is what we've been telling our viewers for about 12 years now, and that is, only in the first few years of a country being promoted is that country cheap. That's because there is always someone who is going to pay more than you, and there is always someone who is going to pay more than him, and there is always someone going to pay more than that guy and more than that girl until prices reach the point where they did in Ecuador, Portugal, Panama, Costa Rica, you name your country, you know what we mean. All the RAM promoted countries. It only takes a few years for the prices to spike, and then by the time you get there, where is the cheap? So you left the comforts of your home country to search for a less expensive country, but ended up in a fairy tale, and the little fairies are pushing the prices to the breaking point. Now what are you going to do about it? Well, here's some tips for you. You can make this cheap concept work for you by going to a town or city that is not being promoted by the Retire Abroad media and bloggers, and then keep your cheap paradise a secret. That's how you do it. The other way you can do it is to get your frugalist skills out of the closet and learn to be frugal like the locals and grow your own food and get some farm animals. It helps tremendously to know the basic language of the country you're in, too. Being industrious is a skill. Number 2. Some people feel they have to leave the U.S. because it is crime-ridden and dangerous. And that's true. It is crime-ridden and dangerous. But there are some very powerful ways to avoid crime and not become a victim. Living in Latin America for 12 years has given us considerable insights and tips on how to stay safe. And we used to say that crime in Latin America is different than in North America, but that's changing. Latin American crimes are now penetrating into American cities and towns. We can certainly understand why North Americans feel they have to leave the United States because of the crime, but moving to a Latin American country is not going to necessarily be safer for you. The same types of problems exist here that exist there, such as drug gangs, shootings, home invasions, kidnappings, murders, robberies, and numerous petty crimes. With the exception of a handful of U.S. cities such as Detroit, New York City, St. Louis, Chicago, Memphis, overall, historically, there is still less crime in most American big cities than in Latin America. For instance, you're not safer living in Cancun, Mexico than in Miami, Florida, or Quito, Ecuador, and Miami, Florida. Or you won't be safer living in Mexico City instead of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's not safer in Medellin, Colombia than it is in Los Angeles, California. It's not safer in Mexico City than in Chicago. You're better off moving to a European country if you want to avoid some of the crime, but beware, crime is on the uptick all over Europe as well. Whatever you do, weigh the pros and cons and take your time and do your due diligence before you decide if moving clear across the world is the best thing for you to do just to avoid crime. There are many different behaviors one can do to avoid crime. Here is the #1 best tip from our 12 years of living in Latin America, which we believe should absolutely be adhered to in North America as well. In fact, if we ever decide to move back to North America in the future, we will be taking the same precautions to avoid encounters there as we do here. We've made numerous videos about how to stay safe abroad. But for today, we're going to leave you with this one tip to help you to stay safe no matter where you live in the world. And that is, don't go out at night. After dark, the bad people wake up from their criminal activities from the night before and are ready to go back to work. Their job is working the swing shift. Anything that looks like easy prey will become their victim. Crime is a job for the criminals, and you're their target. A large percentage of crime happens at night. That means if you don't go out after dark, you raise your chances of staying alive by considerable odds. That's all we're going to say here. #3. People feel they have to leave America to live out their dream life abroad. We all cherish the idea of what the American dream is supposed to be like. We can totally understand why people think that it is somehow moving lock, stock, and barrel abroad, and it might be for some people, but not for most people. The truth is, that image of the American dream you've been carrying around that keeps you waking up every morning at the break of dawn to go to work at a job you hate has been smoldering for years now, not just in the last 5 years, but for several decades. How did it happen under your nose, you may be wondering? Well, incrementally. That's how. Little by little, they take a little bit more of your earnings every year and give it to Big Brother and Uncle Sam. Little by little, they raise food prices. Little by little, they raise home prices. They fiddle with interest rates to make it look like you're getting a really good deal on your loan purchase for your home, but you're getting more and more and more into debt because they're taking more and more of your hard-earned money. Little by little, they raise car prices and car insurance rates. Little by little, health insurance prices go up and up along with the medication prices. It's all going up, but you're not earning enough to cover the incrementalism of inflation. Americans didn't used to have the financial problems they have today when they bought homes and cars and health insurance, and it's because it really was more of the American dream lifestyle. And in the 1950s, 60s, and even 1970s, it was still possible to live out the American dream of owning a home, a car, and sending your children to college and still have some savings left over. Can you believe it? You didn't worry about going out to eat and going to the movies, which now would cost about $100 to eat out for 2 or 3 people, and at least $40 to go to the cinema, and that's if you don't go on the weekends. Everything now is so dramatically overpriced that sadly, most people can't afford to live, and now you realize that you're just working for a living.
But I wanted to say that one of the very pleasing things and enjoyable parts of being abroad was meeting the different expats when we used to help them get settled in their new country at the time. And I liked hearing their stories, which ties in with what we're discussing today about money, how this particular couple said that in the 50s they could just get a job, and with just that one job they were able to pay all their bills, including rent, and then have money left over in savings for investments and this and the other, and only one person had to work in the home. And I really enjoyed hearing that from an actual person. And it's like the median income in 1950 was $3,000 a year. And the median price of a home was like $7,350, which was, the income was about 40% of the value of a home, which means that the first year your income was 40% of the value of a home. The second year you would have been at 80%. So in 2.5 years, your income equaled the median value of a home. Fast forward to 2020, and the median income is $44,225 for a single person, and the median home value is $428,700. So that's a 10x. We've come all the way to a 10x. We now need 10 years worth of income just to equal the median home value. And using the strategy of incrementalism, where they just do it over a long period of time, little by little, your money it buys less and less and less.
Most Americans today are living paycheck to paycheck and have very little or no savings and will only have Social Security for their retirement. And this financial dilemma happened right under the American noses, because the whole time they were telling us that we were working so hard for some dream. This happened over a span of about 50 years, and it's all just about ready to collapse before our eyes, and most people aren't prepared for it. Here's a bit of insight and a tip to help you out a bit from the ancients. They put their dollars, i.e. production, in hard assets, such as gold, silver, and now we have Bitcoin. They also put their dollars in land, homes, farm equipment, farm animals, and homesteading tools. Secondly, put your skills and expertise to work in your own life. Your skills are a hard asset and will be useful for yourself, family, and others one day. Knowing how to make, prepare, build, and create things for yourself and family and for others will become a precious commodity. Only keep enough in the bank for paying for your monthly needs. If you own a home now, keep it. Don't sell the roof over your head. Thirdly, we believe staying in your home country where you can speak the language and where you feel the most familiar with your surroundings and people will be way better than living in a foreign country if and when SHTF arrives. We hope you enjoyed this information and got something from it today. Everyone take care and keep standing strong. Bye-bye.